Listen. I need you to really listen because what I am about to tell you is the kind of truth that most people only understand when it is already too late. I have sat across from men in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, good men, smart men, successful men, and watched their faces as they absorbed a diagnosis that could have been prevented 10, 15, 20 years earlier. And almost every single one of them says the same thing. I wish I had known. I wish someone had told me. I wish I had not ignored the signs. And my name is Dr. Ava Brooks. I am a physician. I am an older woman. I have been practicing medicine for decades, and in that time I have learned something that breaks my heart and fuels my purpose in equal measure. Men are dying from silence, not from some rare, exotic disease. From silence. From the inability to talk about their bodies. From the shame that keeps them out of doctors' offices. They ignore the warning signs. They dismiss the symptoms. They tell themselves it is nothing, it will pass, they are too young, too busy, too strong. And then one day, sometimes in their 40s, sometimes in their 50s, sometimes even sooner, the bill comes due. And by then, the options are fewer. The treatments are harder. The outcomes are worse. And they're left with a lifetime of wondering what might have been different if they had just paid attention. This is not a scare tactic. I am not here to frighten you. I am here to arm you. Because the truth is, most of the things that destroy men's health in middle age are preventable. Not inevitable. Not genetic destiny. Preventable. But only if you know what to look for. Only if you know what to do. And only if you act before the window closes does, let us begin, that I want to start with fertility. I know. It was published in Human Reproduction Update in 2017. The researchers analyzed data from over 42,000 men across North America, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, spanning from 1973 to 2011. What they found was staggering. Sperm concentration declined by more than 52% over that period. Total sperm count declined by nearly 60%. And the decline is not plateauing. It is accelerating. A follow-up analysis published in 2023 confirmed that the trend has continued and even intensified, with the rate of decline doubling since the year 2000. Think about what this means. The average man today has less than half the sperm count of his grandfather at the same age. If this trajectory continues, and there is every reason to believe it will, we are headed toward a fertility crisis of staggering proportions. This is not a distant threat. This is happening now. To you. To your friends. To your sons. Why is this happening? The answer is complex, but the factors are not mysterious. Environmental toxins, endocrine-disrupting chemicals in plastics, pesticides, and consumer products are interfering with hormonal systems. Rising rates of obesity are driving estrogen levels up and testosterone down. Sedentary lifestyles, poor diet, chronic stress, inadequate sleep. All of these contribute to declining sperm quality. And the modern world is not getting any cleaner, any less stressful, or any more conducive to reproductive health. Here is my first piece of urgent advice. Do not assume you are fertile. Especially if you are under 40 and children are anywhere in your future plans, even distant, hypothetical plans get a baseline semen analysis. Now. Before you're actively trying. Before your partner is going through the emotional and physical ordeal of fertility testing. Before you have spent years assuming everything is fine when it might not be, that a semen analysis is simple, non-invasive, and relatively inexpensive. You can do it at a lab, or you can use a mail-in-home kit. It tells you your count, your motility, that is how well your sperm swim, and your morphology, which is their shape and structure. If your numbers are good, you have peace of mind and a baseline to compare against if anything changes later. If your numbers are concerning, you have time. Time to make lifestyle changes. Time to investigate underlying causes. Time to bank sperm if needed. Time to explore options. The men who wait until they are 42 and struggling to conceive do not have that time. They have panic. They have pressure. They have a ticking clock and a partner who is crying in my office. Do not be that man. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked your testicles? If you need to think about it, the answer is probably never. And that needs to change. Right now, testicular cancer is the most common cancer in men between the ages of 15 and 35. It is highly curable, over 95% when caught early. But that number drops precipitously if the cancer spreads beyond the testicle. And here is the tragic part. Most cases are caught late not because the cancer is aggressive, but because men ignore the lump. For months, sometimes for over a year. They feel something abnormal, something hard, something that was not there before, and they do nothing. They convince themselves it is nothing. They are too embarrassed to see a doctor. They do not want to drop their pants in front of a stranger. They do not want to have that conversation, that I have seen it. A 28-year-old man who felt a lump, Googled it, convinced himself it was a cyst, and waited 11 months to come in. By then, the cancer was in his lymph nodes, his lungs, his liver. What would have been a simple surgery, and maybe some radiation, became a fight for his life. He survived, barely. But he will never be the same. And the worst part is, it was entirely unnecessary. So here is what I want you to do. Once a month, after a warm shower when the scrotal skin is relaxed, examine each testicle. Hold it gently between your thumb and first 2 fingers. Roll it. Feel for any hard lumps, any change in size, any change in texture, any persistent ache or heaviness. Know what normal feels like so that you can recognize abnormal when it appears. If you find something, anything, go to a doctor that same week. Do not wait. Do not hope it goes away. Do not Google. Go to a urologist. The worst-case scenario of being wrong is a brief moment of awkwardness. The worst-case scenario of being right and waiting is death. Those are the stakes. Now, let us talk about the prostate. I know that for most men under 40, the prostate feels like someone else's problem. It is for old men. It is something your father or your grandfather deals with, not you. And I understand why you would think that. But here's the problem with that thinking. The seeds of prostate problems in your 50s and 60s are planted in your 30s and 40s. And the habits and awareness you build now will determine whether you catch the early signs or miss them entirely. The prostate is a gland about the size of a walnut, located just below the bladder. You cannot see it, you cannot feel it from the outside, and for most of your young life, you will have no reason to think about it. But somewhere around 40 or 45, for most men, it begins to enlarge. This is called benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. It is not cancer. But the symptoms are annoying, progressive, and can significantly impact your quality of life. Waking up multiple times a night to urinate. A weak stream. Difficulty starting. The survival rate for localized prostate cancer that has not spread is nearly 100%. But once it metastasizes, the prognosis changes dramatically. The difference between catching it early and catching it late is, quite literally, the difference between life and death. And catching it early requires screening. The screening conversation for prostate cancer is more nuanced than for some other cancers. The PSA blood test can produce false positives. It can lead to biopsies that may be unnecessary. It can detect slow-growing cancers that might never cause harm, potentially leading to overtreatment. These are legitimate concerns. But that conversation, weighing those risks against your personal risk factors, is one you need to have with your doctor, not avoid. Especially if you are Black, because Black men have significantly higher rates of erectile dysfunction. I am going to say it plainly because dancing around it does not help anyone. Erectile dysfunction is incredibly common. Roughly 40% of men experience some degree of it by age 40. By age 70, the number is closer to 70%. This is not a rare condition that only affects a few unlucky individuals. This is a near-universal experience for men as they age. And yet, men suffer in silence. They are ashamed. They feel like less of a man. They avoid intimacy. They pull away from their partners. And while they are suffering silently, they are missing the most important thing about ED. It is often not a penis problem. It is a blood vessel problem. The arteries that supply the penis are smaller than the arteries that supply the heart. So when atherosclerosis, the buildup of fatty plaque in your arteries, begins, it shows up in the penis first. Erectile dysfunction is frequently the earliest detectable symptom of cardiovascular disease. It can precede a heart attack by 3 to 5 years. That is not an exaggeration. That is not a scare tactic. That is established medical fact. So, if you are under 50 and experiencing ED, especially new onset ED, do not just order pills from some online pharmacy. Do not just buy supplements from Instagram ads. Go to a doctor. Get a full cardiovascular workup. Blood pressure, cholesterol panel, blood sugar, hemoglobin A1C, inflammatory markers. The ED might be the warning that saves your life. The pill might mask that warning while the underlying disease silently progresses. There are, of course, other causes of ED, psychological causes, stress, anxiety, depression, performance pressure. Hormonal causes, low testosterone, thyroid dysfunction, elevated prolactin. Neurological causes, nerve damage from diabetes, spinal issues, multiple sclerosis. Medication side effects, certain blood pressure drugs, many antidepressants, finasteride for hair loss. Lifestyle factors, smoking, obesity, alcoholism, sedentary behavior. The point is that ED is a symptom, not a diagnosis. It is your body telling you something is wrong. Listen to it. Investigate it. Do not just suppress it and move on. Let me talk about testosterone now, because this is where the supplement industry has done a tremendous amount of harm. You have seen the marketing. Every podcast, every fitness channel, every website with a vaguely masculine aesthetic is pushing testosterone boosters. They promise more energy, more muscle, more libido, more confidence, more everything. The message is clear. If you are tired, if you're gaining weight, if your sex drive is not what it used to be, your testosterone is low, and you need to buy their product to fix it, here is the truth. Testosterone does decline with age, roughly 1% per year after 30. That is normal. That is expected. That is not a disease. Clinical hypogonadism, genuinely pathologically low testosterone, exists and is a real medical condition that deserves treatment. But it is far rarer than the supplement industry wants you to think. And the vast majority of testosterone-boosting supplements do absolutely nothing. They are not regulated. They are not proven. They are taking your money and giving you nothing in return except, in some cases, contaminated or adulterated products that could actually harm you if you are experiencing symptoms, persistent fatigue, loss of muscle mass, increased body fat, especially around the abdomen, reduced libido, erectile dysfunction, brain fog, depression. Do not start with supplements. Start with the basics. How is your sleep? Because chronic sleep deprivation suppresses testosterone. How is your diet? Because zinc deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, and inadequate healthy fat intake all impair testosterone production. How is your exercise? Because resistance training boosts testosterone naturally. How is your stress? Because cortisol and testosterone are inversely related. How is your alcohol consumption? Because heavy drinking directly damages the testes. How is your body fat percentage? Because excess fat converts testosterone into estrogen. Fix those things first. Give it 3 to 6 months. If your symptoms persist, go to a real doctor, an endocrinologist or urologist, not a men's health clinic that sells testosterone, and get a comprehensive lab panel. Total testosterone, free testosterone, SHBG, estradiol, LH, FSH, prolactin, thyroid panel, vitamin D, complete metabolic profile. Get the full picture. And then, if testosterone therapy is indicated, do it under proper medical supervision with regular monitoring. Understand the risks. Fertility suppression, testicular atrophy, potential cardiovascular effects, potential prostate stimulation. This is serious medicine, not a lifestyle hack. Now I want to spend some time on something that I think is one of the most under-recognized crises in men's health today. Pornography. And I want to be very careful in how I say this, because I am not here to shame anyone. I am not a moralist. I am a doctor. And I am going to talk about this from a purely medical and evidence-based perspective. High-speed internet pornography, unlimited, free, high-definition, endlessly novel, available in your pocket at all times, is unlike anything the human brain evolved to handle. The dopamine system that governs motivation, reward, and sexual arousal is being exposed to supernormal stimuli that have no precedent in human history. And the consequences are becoming increasingly clear. Porn-induced erectile dysfunction is a real, clinically recognized phenomenon. Men in their 20s and 30s, healthy men with normal hormone levels and no vascular disease, who cannot achieve or maintain an erection with a real partner but have no difficulty with pornography. Their brains have been conditioned to respond to the specific stimuli that pornography provides. Endless novelty, voyeuristic perspective, Zero performance pressure, no emotional intimacy required, and a real human being in a real bedroom with real vulnerability cannot compete. There is also a desensitization effect. Over time, users need more extreme or more novel content to achieve the same level of arousal. This escalation can lead to content that the user finds disturbing, that is inconsistent with his values, or that creates shame and confusion. And the shame feeds the cycle, because shame drives more pornography use as an escape, which deepens the shame. And then there is the relational damage. Pornography teaches a script for sex that is performative, male pleasure-focused, and completely divorced from communication, consent, or emotional connection. Real intimacy, the kind that sustains long-term relationships, is about vulnerability, trust, presence, and mutual care. Pornography is about visual stimulation and self-gratification. These are not just different things. They are, in many ways, opposites. If any of this resonates with you, please hear me clearly. You are not broken. You are not perverted. You are not a bad person. Your brain adapted to a powerful stimulus in exactly the way brains adapt, through neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity works both ways. The same mechanism that created the conditioning can undo it. Taking a break, a real reset, allowing your brain's dopamine system to recalibrate can be transformative. And if you need help with this, there are therapists who specialize in it. There are communities of men supporting each other through it. You are not alone, and you are not beyond help. I want to shift now to relationships, because your reproductive health does not exist in isolation. It exists in the context of your intimate partnerships. And I have watched, over decades of practice, as relationships crumble and sexual function deteriorates because men and women stop talking to each other. There is something that most men fundamentally do not understand about female desire, especially in long-term relationships and as women age. Male desire tends to be spontaneous. It just shows up, often triggered by visual cues or physical sensation. Female desire is more often responsive. It emerges in response to pleasure, to feeling emotionally connected, to feeling safe and valued and seen. This is not universal, of course, but it is a consistent pattern in the research and in clinical experience. What this means practically is that for many women, the work of a satisfying sex life begins hours, sometimes days, before any physical intimacy. It begins with how you treat her in the morning. Do you see her? Do you appreciate what she carries? Do you share the mental and emotional load of your shared life? Or does she carry nearly all of it while you help out occasionally? Do you listen when she speaks? Or are you waiting for your turn? Do you touch her affectionately without the expectation that it will lead to sex? Because if every touch is a prelude to a request, touching becomes a source of pressure, not comfort. The research on this is unambiguous. Couples where household labor is shared equitably report higher sexual satisfaction. Women whose partners are emotionally attuned report higher desire. It is that simple. I also want to say something about menopause, because if your partner is a woman, she will go through it, and you need to be prepared. Menopause is not just the end of periods and some hot flashes. It is a fundamental hormonal shift that affects virtually every system in a woman's body. The decline in estrogen changes vaginal tissue. It becomes thinner, drier, less elastic, which can make intercourse painful. It changes libido. It changes mood, sleep, cognition, body composition. It is a massive transition, and it lasts for years. Your partner needs you to understand this. Not to fix it. Not to take it personally when her desire changes. Just to understand. To be patient. To educate yourself. To go to her appointments if she wants you there. To explore solutions together. To not make her menopause about your sexual frustration. That is selfish, and it is beneath you. Let me talk about something that does not get nearly enough attention. Sexually transmitted infections in adults over 35 and over 40. There is a dangerous assumption that STIs are a young person's problem. They are not. Rates of chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis among older adults have been rising steadily. Why? Because pregnancy is no longer a concern, so people stop using condoms. Because older adults are less likely to get tested. Because doctors are less likely to ask older patients about sexual activity. And because comprehensive sex education was even worse 30 or 40 years ago than it is now. If you are sexually active with new or multiple partners, you need to use protection and you need to get tested. Period. Your age does not make you immune to gonorrhea. It does not make you immune to herpes, which is lifelong. It does not make you immune to HPV, which causes genital warts and is linked to penile, anal, and throat cancers. It does not make you immune to HIV, which is now manageable but still life-changing. Get the HPV vaccine if you are eligible. It is approved for men up to age 45. Use condoms. Have the awkward conversation before, not after. These are basic adult responsibilities. Let me move to the practical, daily things. Lifestyle. Because this is where the real power is. What you do every day has a massive impact on your hormonal health, your cardiovascular health, your sexual function, and your long-term vitality. Weight is a big one. Obesity is devastating for male hormonal health. Excess body fat contains an enzyme called aromatase, which converts testosterone into estrogen. This is why obese men often have low testosterone and elevated estrogen. It also drives insulin resistance, which further disrupts the hormonal axis. And it directly damages sperm quality. Obese men have lower counts, higher DNA fragmentation, and poorer outcomes even with assisted reproduction. The good news is that even modest weight loss, 5 to 10% of body weight, can produce measurable improvements in testosterone and sperm parameters. Diet. For male reproductive and hormonal health, focus on a few key nutrients. Zinc, critical for testosterone synthesis and sperm production. Oysters are the richest source, but beef, pumpkin seeds, lentils, and chickpeas work too. Selenium, essential for sperm motility. Brazil nuts are nature's multivitamin for this. 2 or 3 a day is all you need. Vitamin D, more of a hormone than a vitamin, and low levels are associated with low testosterone and poor sperm quality. Get your levels checked. Sunlight, fatty fish, and supplements if indicated. Healthy fats. Testosterone is synthesized from cholesterol. You need dietary fat. Olive oil, avocados, nuts, fatty fish. Folate. Protects sperm DNA integrity. Dark leafy greens, beans, lentils. Antioxidants. Protect sperm from oxidative stress. Berries, dark chocolate, walnuts, green tea, cooked tomatoes for lycopene. And water. Semen is mostly water. Chronic dehydration means lower volume and poor quality. What to avoid? Processed meats, bacon, sausage, deli meats, are consistently associated with lower sperm quality. Trans fats, fried foods, processed baked goods, are bad for everything, including your sperm. Excess sugar and refined carbohydrates drive insulin resistance. Heavy alcohol use directly damages the testes and suppresses testosterone. And smoking. I should not need to tell you this, but smoking creates oxidative stress throughout the body, damages sperm DNA, reduces count and motility, and dramatically increases the risk of erectile dysfunction by destroying blood vessels. If you smoke, quitting is the single most impactful thing you can do for your reproductive health. Exercise is essential. Resistance training, lifting weights, boosts testosterone acutely and, over time, helps maintain healthy levels. It improves body composition and insulin sensitivity. Cardio supports your blood vessels, which is critical for erectile function. But avoid extremes. Overtraining, especially combined with caloric restriction, can suppress testosterone. More is not always better. Find sustainable, consistent movement that you enjoy. A word about cycling. Cycling is fantastic exercise, but prolonged pressure on the perineum, the area between the scrotum and anus, can compress nerves and blood vessels, leading to numbness and erectile dysfunction. This is not a reason to stop cycling. It is a reason to get a proper bike fit, use a saddle with a cutout, stand up occasionally, and pay attention to any warning signs. Sleep might be the single most underrated factor in male hormonal health. Testosterone production follows a circadian rhythm, with the majority occurring during deep sleep. Chronic sleep deprivation, less than 5 or 6 hours per night, can reduce testosterone by 10 to 15%. That is equivalent to aging 10 or 15 years hormonally. If you are sleeping poorly, fix that before you do anything else. Consistent bedtime and wake time. Dark, cool, quiet room. No screens for at least 30 minutes before bed. If you snore heavily or wake up feeling exhausted, Get evaluated for sleep apnea, which is independently associated with low testosterone and ED. Stress is a testosterone killer. The stress hormone cortisol and testosterone share a precursor molecule. When your body is under chronic stress, it prioritizes cortisol production at the expense of testosterone. This was adaptive when stress meant a predator attack lasting 5 minutes. It is destructive when stress means a never-ending stream of emails, deadlines, financial pressure, and social media. You cannot eliminate stress, but you can manage it. Meditation, exercise, time outdoors, real social connection, therapy if you need it, boundaries with work and technology. These are not luxuries. They are maintenance for your endocrine system. Now, let me talk about supplements because I know someone watching this is hoping I will give them a magic pill. There is no magic pill. The global supplement industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars and is largely unregulated. In the United States, the FDA does not approve supplements for safety or efficacy before they go to market. Testosterone boosters, in particular, are almost entirely worthless. Tribulus terrestris, fenugreek, D-aspartic acid, horny goat weed. Despite the compelling names, the evidence for these products in healthy men is weak to non-existent. They are extracting money from your insecurity and giving you nothing in return. The few supplements with actual evidence, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, omega-3s, CoQ10, should only be taken if testing shows a deficiency. Work with a doctor. Buy from reputable companies that do third-party testing. And understand that no pill can compensate for a poor diet, no exercise, no sleep, and chronic stress. I want to spend a moment on environmental exposures because this is going to become one of the defining health issues of the coming decades. We live surrounded by synthetic chemicals that did not exist a century ago. Many of them are endocrine disruptors. They interfere with hormonal signaling. BPA in plastics mimics estrogen. Eat fresh, whole foods. The less packaging, the less chemical exposure. Choose fragrance-free personal care products. Wash your hands frequently, especially before eating. These are small, cumulative interventions that over a lifetime matter. They matter especially in the months before trying to conceive. I have one more topic I want to address before I close. Mental health. Men are terrible at addressing their mental health, and it is not entirely your fault. You were socialized from childhood to suppress your emotions. Big boys do not cry. Man up. Stop being so sensitive. By the time you are an adult, many of you have lost the vocabulary for what you feel, let alone the ability to express it or seek help for it. This emotional suppression is not strength. It is a cage. And it has direct physiological consequences on your hormones, your cardiovascular system, your immune function, your sexual function. Depression affects roughly 1 in 10 American men, and that is almost certainly an underestimate. In men, depression often does not look like sadness. It looks like irritability, anger, withdrawal, increased drinking, risk-taking, workaholism. And one of its most common symptoms is loss of libido, which creates a spiral. Depression kills desire, which creates relationship stress, which deepens the depression, which further suppresses desire. Anxiety can directly cause or worsen erectile dysfunction. The performance pressure creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. You are so afraid of losing your erection that the fear itself causes you to lose it. This is common. It is treatable. But you have to talk about it. If you are struggling mentally, if you feel persistently hopeless, empty, angry, checked out, please get help. Therapy works. Medication works for many people. Support groups exist. You are not weak for needing help. You're human. And addressing your mental health will improve every aspect of your life, including your physical health, your relationships, and your sex life. Let me bring all of this together now because I have covered a lot of ground and I want you to walk away with clarity, not overwhelm. Here is what I need you to understand. Your body is not a machine that you can neglect for decades and then fix with a pill when something breaks. It is a living system that requires ongoing attention and maintenance. The habits you build now, the awareness you develop now, the relationship you have with your body now, these things determine your health trajectory for the rest of your life. The men who thrive in middle age and beyond are not the ones who discovered some secret anti-aging protocol at 55. They are the ones who took care of themselves consistently for the 30 years before that. who built relationships with doctors when they were healthy, who knew their baseline numbers, who caught problems early instead of late, who did not let shame or embarrassment or busyness keep them from the care they needed. You can be one of those men. It is not complicated. It is not expensive. It is not time-consuming. But it does require something that many men find surprisingly difficult. It requires you to prioritize yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a responsible way. The way you would want your father to take care of himself. The way you will want your sons to take care of themselves. Because the truth is, taking care of your health is one of the most generous things you can do for the people who love you. You are sparing them the grief of losing you early. You are sparing them the burden of caring for you through a preventable illness. You are giving them more years of you, present, capable, alive. So here is your action plan. It is simple and it starts today. Point 1. Schedule a physical if you have not had one in the last year. Get your blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar checked. Know your numbers. Point 2. Perform a testicular self-exam tonight. Learn what normal feels like. Do it monthly from now on. Point 3. If children are in your future, near or distant, get a baseline semen analysis. Know where you stand. Point 4. Evaluate your lifestyle honestly. Your sleep, your diet, your exercise, your stress, your alcohol, your smoking. Pick one thing to improve. Start there. Do not try to change everything at once. Point 5. If something feels wrong, a lump, a pain, a change in function, a persistent symptom, do not ignore it. Do not Google it for 3 months. Do not hope it goes away. Share what you learn. Send this video to your brother, your father, your best friend. Talk about the things that most men never talk about. Be the one who breaks the cycle. My name is Dr. Ava Brooks. I am an older woman who has spent her life in medicine. I have held the hands of men who received devastating diagnoses that could have been prevented. I have celebrated with men who turned their health around and got years of vibrant life back. And I am telling you from the very bottom of my heart, what I have shared with you today can change your life. But only if you act on it. Do not be the man who looks back at 45 or 55 and says, I wish someone had told me. Someone just did. The rest is up to you. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. I will see you in the next one.